Let's jump to this next story. This is from The Independent. Trump fundraising site crashes after influx of donors following guilty verdict, guilty New York hush money verdict. Former president had fundraised off legal troubles before. Dan Scavino says that they are receiving the hug of death. Too many people right now are trying to contribute to Donald Trump's campaign. I will say this for the record. I have contributed the maximum allowed to his campaign. The moment this happened, I have not donated. As far as I know, I don't believe I've ever donated to Donald Trump before this, but this is absolutely too much. But we do have other news. This story shows they're raking in tons of dough. Check this out. Sean McGuire says, I just donated $300,000 to Trump. He says, back in 2016, I had drunk the media Kool-Aid and was scared out of my mind about Trump. As such, I donated to Hillary Clinton's campaign and voted for her. By 2020, I was disillusioned and didn't vote. I didn't like either option. Now, in 2024, I believe this is one of the most important elections of my lifetime, and I'm supporting Trump. I know that I'll lose friends for this. Some will refuse to do business with me. The media will probably demonize me, as they have so many others before me. But despite this, I still believe it's the right thing to do. I refuse to live in a society where people are afraid to speak. Now, he wrote 10,000 words. My radicalization towards the center, global instability, talking about the failed foreign policy, Israel, double standards. Take a look at this. Classified documents. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Mike Pence, and Donald Trump were all caught with classified documents. Only Trump was indicted. Either it's a crime for all or none. All of the arguments about quantity of documents or obstruction are distractions to justify a double standard. The border wall. Remember how Trump was villainized for promoting a border wall? Biden resumed building sections of it after pausing none, which legacy media has been very quiet about. Election denialism. Yes, Trump denied the 2020 election, but as we linked to above, so did Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden regarding 2016. Corruption charges. Every inch has been searched for Trump corruption, while Joe Biden's involvement with foreign countries through Hunter have been swept under the rug. 3 strikes for thee, but not for me. Joe Biden was the architect of the 1994 crime bill, crack cocaine in particular, the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act, etc. Lawfare. He says the election interference case, the classified documents case, the Georgia interference case, the hush money case, bank fraud, sexual assault. All of these cases are too complicated for most to follow, almost by design. As someone that has been following the cases closely, I've had the opposite reaction of what was intended. Every single case seems to have had impropriety, and B, after going through Trump's entire life, if these are the worst things they can find, he did less wrong than I otherwise would have assumed. He goes on to mention that he disagrees on domestic policy and many other things. Now, the curious thing is where exactly he's going to be putting his $300,000. The assumption is into a super PAC. You can't actually give the president that much money. We have this tweet from Lee Zeldin, who posted, just secured an $800,000 donation from someone for President Trump's joint fundraising committee. Never experienced a massive ask that easy. And of course, I have this Dan Scavino saying WinRed is down due to overwhelming support. I don't know if this plan will work, but I will say many people, the majority when I asked my Twitter audience, said he wouldn't be convicted. Those fairly close to 50-50, and then he was. When the Democrats see that their plan is not working, I believe it is likely they push for prison time. Even if it is a year, they'll say it's a first offense, but we think minimum security 1 year is warranted in this regard. They're going to keep pushing because they have no other choice.
And then they'll freak out over the optics of Trump pardoning himself when he wins the election. I mean,
we can't pardon himself on a state charge.
That's what I mean. Like, they're going to be like, he's a sitting, if he were to win the election, they'd be like, he's in prison. Now he's going to try and take over New York and do all these crazy things and appoint this AG. Like, it's going to be hysteria from the left for so long. And I think what's interesting is, like, again, I'm going to go back to this Marist poll that I was referencing before. They found that for 64% of voters, a conviction didn't matter. It wouldn't change the way they're voting. And it was even higher. It was over 70% among independents, right? So it's interesting that there's sort of the political class this is really changing how they think they're going to lay out their roadmap for the rest of the year. But for voters, they were already split. You were kind of talking about this, like there might be some people who are saying enough is enough. I really need to back Donald Trump now. But for the most part, people feel as though their minds are made up. And so it really feels to me like a lot of this is just to try and slow Trump down.
It just reminds me of when he was giving that speech about Venezuela, like 2016, maybe a little bit before that. That was just like whenever he said he was the only one standing in between them and us, and they're throwing everything they can at this guy, and that's just terrifying me because I mean, anyone else.
This is the system that will be left if this continues.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that they, for 3-4 years now, they've been normalizing pushing the boundary. And if this is allowed to stand, and if he doesn't win the election for some reason, this is just the new normal now. And for any Republican who ever tries to run again, this is what the Democrats will do. And they'll have them charged in some jurisdiction in which they're guaranteed some sort of victory. And this is how we'll have to deal with Democrats now.
And I have to think, for the average American, this is disheartening, right? Basically, New York is controlling your election. So if you're from, North Dakota, you're from, New Mexico, whatever, like this city, basically, this state government decided what was going to happen for the election. You must not feel like you're actually represented.
How is this not election interference?
It is.
I know. And just what is their excuse of like?
We're empowered. We can do it.
Everything they claim Trump would do, they do.
That's right.
And Trump doesn't.
Right.
They're saying Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy. I'm pretty sure arresting, charging, and trying to imprison your political rivals and the front runner for the 2020. Look, the arguments they're making, well, Trump is a criminal. The American people want him to be president. He's winning in all the polls. He's up 12 points among independent voters, according to the latest poll from Marist, PBS. The American people, knowing everything, have said over and over again, yeah, he's going to be my pick come November. So Trump has said the real trial, the real verdict will be November when people vote. I hope so. I want to shout out Inez Stepman, who said, we now live in a country where the loser of the next election is going to jail. It's true.
Well, and the Biden... Whoever loses in November will go to jail.
Assuming Biden has the health in November. He's very old. If Biden loses, the AG gets appointed. They start digging through Biden's crimes, the Clintons and all of that, and they're gonna go to jail. Unless for some reason Trump just says, no, we're not gonna lock him up. Like he did last time.
They better not do that.
I think
Trump might be in jail before he loses.
Yeah, I think the
might
Biden
win and go to jail.
Campaign is really going to lead into this. He is a criminal. He's been convicted narrative. Like, you're going to hear that for the rest of the summer over. And I mean, that was their statement released right away. They had a similar. The Biden-Harris campaign had this. Well, it really matters what happens in November. But anyways, the presumptive Republican nominee is a criminal, so that's interesting. Like, it's going to be insufferable. It's going to be unbearable. But on the other hand, I wonder how much more they have in them, right? Like, you have convicted Trump, you're going to put him in jail, and you still can't win the independent voters. In fact, it seems like you're driving the independent voters right into his arms.
They took something from like before 2016 to turn it into a crime and retroactively make him a criminal.
Right. This is
like,
2 elections ago.
Right. Like,
and it took place after he was already elected.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Right. But they're calling it election interference. And
it was already determined to not be a crime by other people.
The Federal Elections Commission and the Department of Justice both said there was no crime.
Right.
So like the number 3 guy in the DOJ resigns, goes to New York, takes a job just to prosecute Trump probably because his bosses said no, there's nothing here.
Right, because this has been turned down multiple times before. I mean, Trump was saying this when he was delivering remarks before today. This morning, he was saying like, this isn't a crime, but even if it was, it should have been brought before 2019. But conveniently, they held off until we're in the middle of a presidential election. But they're also telling you it's not political. Like, how stupid do they think the American public, like even Americans who don't support Trump, at a certain point, this is political just given the timing.
Right. It's like, who's this guy in the news just catching all these charges over and over again and still not in jail? That's crazy. Who is this?
Yeah.
There's more to come. Obviously, it doesn't stop here. We've got the Georgia case. We got the documents case. Now, it seems like Judge Cannon, that's the documents case, right,
yeah,
is actually basically pushing back on these corrupt Democrats like, no, you can't do these things. We'll see how that ends up working out because this is, there are a lot of people posting things about civil war or war and conflict. Whoever had the bet that it would take 24 minutes, congratulations. I don't know what square you bet on. People were saying, how soon until an episode will Tim say civil war? But there's a lot of people who are pointing this out. The Democrats know they can't win. They're privately freaking out. There's Politico had the story just the other day. And so they're just going to try and stop Trump in any way imaginable. They're on TV smiling and laughing, saying, this is how we win. I think people on the right and regular working class Americans who don't pay much attention do not understand the plague of evil that exists in this country of people in power who hate you, don't care to play fair, they want to win, and then they want to spit on you and tell you that they will do anything to maintain power and your rules are meaningless. I'll give you an example. I knew a guy who was very big in a protester during Occupy, and we were all arguing for free speech. We all said we believed in free speech. And then 7 or 8 years later, now he's Antifa, and I'm talking to him, and he's laughing, saying, you're an idiot. You didn't understand, did you? We only agreed with you because you were helping us get power. When we protest and you defended our free speech, we, of course, agreed with you because you were giving us power. Now that we have the power to go out and do what we want, we're laughing at you and you can't do anything about it. That's how they view this. So when they go on TV, when Fareed Zakaria says this is only because it's Donald Trump, and then other people on CNN are like, well, this is a good thing, isn't it? They're telling you outright. They want power. They'll take it by force. They're not here to play fair. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.